in religion, when in fact it's a political agenda, and it isn't true to our faith, as I understand it, having been taught by one of the most devout Muslims I have ever met, my husband, and I believe in the United States as well. We have a responsibility as Arabs and Muslims, and I also will say, and have said often to the Arab American community here, they have a responsibility to, again, to speak out, to use their voices in a society which allows for everyone's voice to be heard, to work together, to unify their efforts, and not to compete, but in fact to see that united we can be a much more potent force for our goals than if we are competing amongst ourselves for who is going to be the most important, or who is going to get the most attention. In fact, the important thing is the struggle for peace and security and justice. And I have great hope that with this new administration, there is, on the part of the president, certainly he's made it very clear, an openness, a larger view of an understanding of the world and its many complexities. I'm hoping that he will have an impact on the population here in the United States, but I feel that we have a responsibility to work here very hard as well, to promote the vision, or to represent the mainstream, the majority in all of our societies, a majority that is seeking peace and security and dignity and a sense of hope and opportunity, at least for our children. I mean, we're willing, I think my generation is willing to sacrifice if at least our children can have some hope for the future.
Yes, it's true. But also if we talk internally about women in the Arab world, I mean, you've been, well, first time you went to Jordan in the 70s, 1973 till now. You have seen this process going, evolving. If you look now at the status of women in the Arab world, maybe in Jordan in particular, are they progressing or they're regressing? How do you see it?
Well, in times of economic crisis, it seems that the involvement of women in the labor force tends to regress. That when you have increasing poverty and unemployment, as we are seeing in many parts of our region, that is a damper. And it is, by the way, in the United States and in many other countries around the world. It tends to slow the opportunities available for women. On the other hand, in Jordan and in many countries in the Arab world, and sadly that's not well understood in the United States and in many Western countries, women are increasingly, whether they are conservative or they are more liberal or progressive, are increasingly playing very important roles in public debate and discussion about critical issues affecting not only peace, but also the kinds of societies we want to live in. And their voices are absolutely critical not only to the public debate, but I think to the way that their children and their families look at the roles and responsibilities they will have in society in the future. So I am very hopeful. I have seen an enormous amount of progress, but there's still a great deal, I think, more required for women to freely understand what their opportunities and options can be, that they can be good mothers, they can be the heart of the family and the community, and at the same time have the ability to express themselves, to contribute as they might choose to the best of their abilities in the larger world as well.
The award that your late father, Najib Halabi, has been obviously for many years now at the night of Gibran Khalil Gibran Award, but specifically tonight is going to be given to a renowned Arab American doctor, scientist, Dr. Ilyas Zarhouni. How do you feel about it, to start with, that was given to him?
Oh, the award is a living legacy for my father from the Arab American Institute, which he worked very closely with. I think he would have been delighted not only that it's being given to such a prominent and successful Arab American physician, but also that the new Secretary of Transportation in the Obama administration, Ray LaHood, will be giving it to him with me. My father worked as a member of President Kennedy's cabinet, first of all, to desegregate all air terminals that at that time were segregated in the 1960s, but also to promote minorities in both in business and in government. And he, as an Arab American, actually reached the highest point that had been reached at that point in a public public administrative job in the government. So he was very conscious of the importance of supporting a range of minorities, obviously Arab Americans, but also Hispanics and others. He really was a pioneer and both politically as a humanitarian and in business in promoting the active public service role of minorities, and especially Arab Americans. He felt if we want to be heard, and if we want to exert an influence from this country on the peace process, on the improving conditions in the Arab world, that public service was one extremely important avenue for achieving that. He also worked very hard at trying to bring Arab Americans and Jewish Americans together to promote Arab-Israeli peace. And he was indomitable. In that respect, he was very much like King Hussein in that he never gave up, no matter how difficult it became, no matter how many difficult forces were arrayed in opposition, he never gave up. And I draw strength from my husband and from his example of constant struggle for